Welcome back to Gene and Roger Talk Movies. Friend of the show, Tykan, is back.
It's been a while.
I know.
Since Alien days.
I still have some traumatic over that experience too.
You are not.
That's good.
You're not wearing. You're not wearing any sort of uniform today.
I actually was tempted to wear the uniform just for the ha-has and giggles, but I decided not to because I didn't want to say, "Oh, look at that uniform! Wow."
So happy to have Tykan back.
About that.
A little bit sensitive.
Yeah, well, you know,
we didn't treat you very well.
No.
And we hated that movie. I think
you did indeed hated that movie.
Yeah. And I mean,
you hate it.
I look back in that movie and the level of despisedness is very high.
Yeah, you could feel the animosity in your voice while you're speaking about that movie.
Yeah, generally a piece of crap. But hopefully today,
We're reviewing Alien Earth.
Oh my God, no. We're doing Weapons today. Currently playing in the theaters, so this is your spoiler warning because, of course, on our little show we talk very freely about it. But let's get in.
Go ahead and watch the movie first. Yes.
Gene, where are you at with Weapons?
Yeah, I've read a lot of commentaries about this. That's, in a way, it's a social commentary about single women being a kind of a vulnerable group in our country. You know, the idea that there has to be something wrong with you that you're a single woman. You know, it's like, why don't you have a partner? What's your deal? You know, and so, yeah, the whole idea is that a bunch of kids in a classroom, all of a sudden they're just gone except for one. And there's a witch in the story. And it's told from multiple point of views. So, which I really liked, you know, reminded me of some books I've read, you know. And so it's good to see the point of perspective of, you know, because in life, we go through life just our perspective, right? And we try to maybe put ourselves in other people's shoes, but, you know, to varying degrees of success or not success. But the movie is told from the point of view of the teacher, who is the single person, and then also it's point of view of the police officer, the kid, and there's this homeless guy, actually, who plays a huge key role in breaking this whole thing open. Because there's a detective case, and because no one can figure out what happened to these kids, even though they were recorded on a lot of them are recorded on door cams, you know, going off and running off into the night. So I really like that part. But I got to throw a but in there. Towards the climax of the movie, I really believe that the cinematic structure, you know, there's rising action, you know, and this is a horror movie, so it should kind of be scary, you know, and this movie is not a horror comedy. Yet, as it's reaching its climax, the movie just, I feel it kind of just doesn't know where to go. And the director kind of didn't know maybe how to direct it. It's the same director as Barbarian, who I see parallels between this movie and Barbarian. But the movie started to become really funny. And at the height of the action, people in the theater, including me, were just laughing. It reminded me of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And it just became kind of a farce. You know, the whole movie just kind of fell apart. You know, so in a horror movie, it's like like I said, I think there are some things that are good about this movie, but overall, it's just the movie was really disappointing for me because I was expecting so much more. They had such a great premise there. They shot it well. Cinematography's great. So it just didn't work for me. So I just can't recommend this movie at all. You know, at the end, we're all laughing. Yeah.
Gene, I'm gravely concerned for Tykan at this point.
Tykan,
where are you at with Weapons?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah. So, you know, what Gene's saying about the wind, the sail the wind taking off by the sail, I totally agree at the very end. And this comes from the background of the director being a comedian before he became a horror movie writer or a horror movie director. Because you're totally right. At the very end of it, it kind of derailed into a comedy in many sense. And, you know, when I watched it, I was laughing my head off because when the witch hears the branch crack and goes, "Oh, shit!" and just starts running through every neighbor door while 26 children go chasing after her. It's the funniest thing ever. Yeah. But I do agree is that the, establishing itself to be a horror movie and then turning suddenly to a horror comedy really, diverts the whole direction of the film.
What are you doing?
And to that context, I don't think it ruins the whole film. I don't think it does. The ending didn't ruin it for me. It definitely was very interesting and weird, but
yeah,
the aspects that you're saying with the different perspectives, I thought was great. I always love movies with very different perspectives of the same story, right? And each one adding their own unique dialogue and and interest into the plot of the film. Although I think there's some, like, one perspective I would rather shift to, the parents' perspective rather than having the principal's perspective. Because in that aspect, I felt it was kind of unnecessary when we've seen how the witch's power does work. What's her name? And Gladys's powers work with, the parents, and that would have been more of an interesting perspective than Marcus's perspective of how that works.
Marcus being what I forget
the principal.
The principal.
Yeah.
I kind of liked his perspective, actually. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad perspective. I would just rather have, because we don't know what the dynamic is between Gladys and his, and her younger sister. Sometimes it's a very different, different type of dynamic relationship, that we don't really get to explore in the film. So if I were to make my own change, I would rather explore the parents dealing with and Gladys's, coming into town and living with them, and them getting taken over rather than having Marcus's perspective. I just thought that was more of a waste of time and character.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
But I wouldn't go as far as saying don't go watch the movie, because I think there's a lot of merits to this movie. I think it adds to, the overall genre perspective horror that we don't see very often, because this kind of genre perspective horror is not really, done very often in cinema. So, I would say still go watch it, but be aware the ending is really wacky. It's a very wacky ending.
I can't recommend this movie on any level.
So,
Roger,
I'm actually feeling much better for Tykan now.
Well, thank you. Me too.
Because it's not the Alien Romulus repeat where we're having to attack our friend.
No.
Yes. That movie was... I don't even want to think about
right,
it.
and so
I thought we're doing a review for Weapons, not for Alien Romulus.
Yeah, so Weapons, obviously, if you've already seen it, you know what the deal is with this. If you haven't seen it, you're probably aware of the extremely high critical reception and audience reception of this film. So it is generally well liked by a lot of people. I did not like this movie. And I actually disagree with both of these guys. I absolutely hated the different perspective aspect, because all it ultimately did was here's information you already know, and here it is again, just from a different perspective. Here's an extra half an hour tacked on to this film to make it 2 hours when it could have been 90. And I think the director on some level is enamored with his own work and didn't have a strong enough editor to just say, you don't need to rehash this sequence again because everybody already gets it. I understand the cop is a recovering alcoholic. I get it. I don't need to keep having it hammered into my brain. The entire sequence with the cop accosting that homeless heroin addict didn't need to be there at all. So there's huge sequence of this film that don't need to exist, but they exist solely, in my opinion, because the director just loves his own work. And so let's keep it in the film.
Sure.
This movie, to me, would have been better as a traditional narrative where they are trying to discover what's going on. You didn't need all the back and forth. There's a completely off-the-wall scene that where the cop's wife shows up and attacks the teacher, which is... It has no value in the film at all, except just a cheap jump scare sequence.
Yeah.
The problem I have with this movie is it starts out amazingly. Mm-hmm. The kids are running out of this house at 2:17 in the morning, getting caught on door cams. It's very creepy. It's very unsettling. Cool. Take me on this ride to figure out what happened. Unfortunately, what happened is absolutely asinine because there's this witch character, Gladys, which Tykan has talked about. And I just am like, what is this witch trying to do? What is the deal here with this witch? And I get it. We can have a movie where you don't get all the answers, and I'm fine with that. But this witch's plan was stupid. She's got the two parents under her control now. She's trying to heal herself or something weird like that. And so she's feeding off of their life force or whatever. But then she's got these 17 kids just in the basement. What's the deal there? At what point does she expect I can get away with this? You can't have 17 kids just disappear, and there's not a thing. And of course, the house suddenly is this creepy house with newspaper on the windows and all of this. It's it's the kid's house, the only kid who didn't get taken. Mm-hmm. And both of these guys are right. The ending, I don't even know what the director was trying to do. There's a really cool visuals of the 17 kids now completely weaponized, where they are jumping through windows and stuff like that, not caring about their own safety, which I loved those sequences. But then you have this ancient woman fleeing in terror from them.
Screaming,
she's running like an Olympic sprinter.
Yeah.
Like,
going through every single neighbor's apartment.
Yeah.
And then the children just break through the window.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, it would have been a complete rewrite of this story. It is almost like this director was like, hey, here's this cool visual that I can start a movie. Wouldn't this be creepy? Mm-hmm. And then just like Gene said, didn't know where to go with that. And so he went down, let's be all artistic and different perspectives, because I really don't have a story here. I don't have an ending to my film. And then the ending is asinine.
Yeah. And that's the part I really do agree with too. Is, you know, when I initially got out of the movie theater, I really did like the film, but the more I thought about it and more it chewed in my brain, I thought this is not as good as I thought it would be. Right? I don't outright hate it. And I think truly perspective films, it's a very niche type of audience, right, that would enjoy perspective films. So it's not going to be a film for everyone. But
I'm going to disagree with that, because when you do those types of films properly, they can be very effective, right?
Sure.
The most famous probably being Pulp Fiction, right? This one, there was no value in them doing it.
Yeah, I could see that too. It's hard because the premise of it is really good. When it just comes down to when you have children in danger, like this is why part one is so good, right? It's because when children are the focus and they're the danger, and I think it just comes down to the innocence of children, it makes horror that much scarier, right? And that's probably why I like the child's perspective the most, right? Because the child's perspective, I think that was really good. I think the child actor did a great job playing his role.
Agreed.
You know, I mean, being this traumatized kid is being forced to not say anything because his aunt is a witch. You know, even getting back to even the witch itself, I agree with you. It's ridiculous. The witch looks ridiculous in general. And that doesn't help. I didn't have any
problems with that.
Yeah, you can do it better than they did, you know, because how about this? Instead of, you know, to me it would have been, let's have a story where the witch is a descendant or is ancient, hundreds of years old, and she's now back to exact vengeance on the town. And so these 17 kids are actually all directly related to the descendants of the people that tried to burn her. And then she's actually weaponizing these kids to go out on a rampage. There's a great movie, which probably no one has seen on this panel, called The Children, where the children are absolutely weaponized and horribly dangerous, and the only way to stop them is you have to cut their arms off, which is it's a great movie, right? Yeah, right. But that to me was, I wanted more of that, where okay, you've called your movie Weapons, you've got these kids in this basement, and nothing happens with them.
Yeah. The movie is really not even focused on the children. They're just gone, and then the focus of the movie shifts to the adults in the search. Yeah, and so the movie, I think Roger's right. Is the different perspectives is, I think the director is just kind of telling the same story over, which is cool. You see different perspectives, I guess. But, you know, I would love to, I agree with Roger. I'd love to find out more about this witch. What's the backstory?
Exactly.
You know, she just appears out of nowhere, you know, and this movie has some horror elements, like when the witch starts to exert control over the kid, by having the parents impale themselves, with a fork. I mean, that's horrific for a kid, and it was horrific to watch that. It's shocking. But more of that. This is a horror movie, right? And so
at least I think it is.
Yeah, it's made out to be horror. I think this movie's kind of like made for, I think, the horror movie genre that encompasses the wide spectrum here. A lot of people go see movies. A lot. I think maybe not a lot of people are really true horror fans and really appreciate like really great horror. I'll talk about Babadook. I think that's great horror.
Well, and Event Horizon.
Yeah, Event Horizon is actually really good. That one movie?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But this movie just, for somebody who you just go to movie theater, I'm going to check this movie out. It's fine. You don't really watch a lot of horror. Maybe this, you watch it. Maybe you like it. But this movie's just got so many flaws. And again, it just falls apart at the end, because like when the movie really started to lose it was with the dad of that one character. He starts to really beat up the drug addict guy, and who got weaponized.
Yes,
so he's
exactly.
throwing her around over and over and over again in the living room. It's like,
yeah.
And one of my things is, sorry, I just finished this thought, is I think people have to act like people, and because we're biological things, and you just can't have people just all of a sudden, because you're weaponized, you're not a biological thing anymore. You're something akin to like Superman, and at the end, watching the kids just jump through windows, and it's like, no, a little kid running full force at a window, will they break it? Modern windows, I mean, come on, most probably more than likely than not, they don't. So it's just, just even thinking about this movie just kind of makes me frustrated. So
yeah,
I don't even know where to go with it. So.
And I do get where you're coming from. The only thing I can give the writer or the director of this film about how
same person, writer and director.
Is it the writer and director? So
Zach Kreger.
Zach Kreger, right? I can only say is that when you are weaponized, you stop feeling pain. So that's the only thing that I can really justify of why they can do all this crazy stuff. They become essentially zombified, right?
Yeah, but when you're a zombie, you're bashing your head and you're killing your partner, which is horrific, and then you're running at full speed. No.
Yeah, okay.
No, just put a little more thought into the movie, thinking about the biological organisms, and even if you're a zombie and you're not thinking about that, break. Your body can only do so much. Like this clearly overweight man cannot be running like an Olympic sprinter for miles and miles and miles. And I don't care how zombie he is. It's just not.
He would just take a rest break after 5 minutes. He'd be like, okay, time to go again.
It's just not well thought out. There's just too many holes in this thing.
Yeah. I mean, the best way I can say is like one of those movies you would have to turn off your brain. And it just comes back to the frustrating part that if they really focused on just the kids, like the whole idea of the kids being taken over and the kids' perspective, maybe it could have been a better movie. Maybe it could.
Well, and I think a more traditional narrative definitely would have helped, but also then rethinking the entire last half of the movie.
That's always going to be the part that gets me too, especially, yeah.
Look, when it's a horror movie, but when I'm thinking Ferris Bueller's Day Off, during the climax of the movie, it should be the most scary. It should be the greatest action of the movie. It should be the telling point of your movie. Yeah, if I'm thinking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, then something is greatly wrong. If I'm thinking one of the greatest comedies of all time in a horror movie, then yeah, you've missed the boat. But again, I think the audience. Well, I don't know what to say. The director made a movie. Is this movie making money? Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, it's
so is it successful?
Money.
You get a return on investment. That's why you make horror movies. Yeah, and I just got to say one more thing. maybe it's a casting. Amy Madigan, I just kept thinking
Yeah.
Field of Dreams is like, one of my favorite movies of all time. I guess it just reveals my age. 1989, classic. If anyone's watched movies, you've watched, Field of Dreams, and I just kept thinking Field of Dreams. This is like, I don't know. The casting there kind of just didn't work for me. So, but did she play her role really well? I thought she played her role great. As a witch, she did well. Yeah, I just got to throw that out there.
Yeah.
It's distracting for me for sure.
Any final thoughts on Weapons?
2025 has been a really good year for horror, in my opinion. It's been a really good year. We've been eating well. And when I went in to watch Weapons, I thought maybe this would be a really good contender for, best horror movie 2025. Mm-hmm. And as I texted you after I got out of the movie theater, I was actually pretty excited. I thought it was pretty good. But the problem is like exactly what we've been talking about, is the more you chew and the more you think about it, the harder it is to like it. Do I think it's a completely unbearably unwatchable movie? Because no, I don't. I think there's effects there that are just really well done, right? Especially the witch getting ripped in half.
Right.
That was pretty good. I really like the idea of, seeing the Marcus bash his partner's face in with his own face. I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah, with his forehead.
Yeah, with his forehead. And, maybe even the idea of how the witch controls the children is pretty unique in its own way as well. But when coming back to like the many perspectives, I like perspective movies. I think they're really great. I thought there was one too many perspectives here that I didn't quite enjoy, or I thought it could be replaced with a different person's perspective, such as the parents. And I really wish they would have explored more about the witch's backstory and how this connects to that family. And they really didn't. Mm-hmm. The fact that there was, when it's advertised as a horror movie and there's a lot more comedy than I expected, it kind of derails the whole movie.
Especially at the end.
Especially at the end. I mean, I laughed my head off, but that's because it was not ha-ha, it's so funny. It's ha-ha because it's totally unexpected and left field. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So, I don't think it's going to be the best movie of 2025's horror. I got to watch Together to figure if that's going to be a good contender. I was looking forward to that one. So far, Sinners is still on the top of my list of the best 2025.
Did you see Bring Her Back?
I did see Bring Her Back. I did like Bring Her Back. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's as good as Sinners. That's my opinion.
Okay.
But Bring Her Back is a really good movie.
Yeah.
But you should watch this movie when it comes out to streaming. That's my opinion. If you really want to watch it while it's in the movie theaters, you can. It's good advertisement. It's a good movie to turn off your brain and not think much about it. But I would say just wait for streaming.
Yeah, so I agree. I am not going to tell you not to go see it. A lot of people really, really like this movie. I have a feeling if we get any comments on this episode, it will be telling me how much I suck about not liking Weapons, but I certainly don't. And I think if you want a really aggressive horror film that's really going to scare you and unnerve you, this isn't that. The ending really drops the ball in a major way, and I don't know, I just can't get into it with this director. And Gene alluded to Barbarian earlier about some similarities. Yeah, Barbarian had the same problems that this one does.
Same things going on, yeah.
And
just losing it at the end.
Yeah, I really... and of course, I'm not a big shot director by any means, but I need Zach Kreger to maybe do another pass or two on his screenplays before he decides to start shooting.
Yeah, if you're going to do horror, just make it horror. It's possible. If you can do it, yeah.
So, Gene, here's the tragic part of the episode.
Oh, my gosh,
We have not talked about what we're doing next week.
Well, you alluded to this movie, Children.
Oh, my God.
Children.
We could.
I'm down with doing that one.
This movie is about, again, this movie is, children are a central element, but is this movie about the children? No. This movie is essentially, this is about the witch. It's about the witch. Yeah.
Is it really, though? Is it really about the witch?
Yeah, it's about the witch.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Is
yeah.
it? At the end.
She's the
yeah,
central
at the very
character.
end.
The movie revolves around the witch. This is about the witch.
Mm-hmm.
But the children, just so you're aware, Gene, is... I think 1972.
72.
Little schlocky B movie. I love it, but we'll tell you that we're probably going to do the children, but don't be surprised if we end up doing
next
something
week we have
else.
something else.
Tykan,
I apologize. Yeah, I didn't plan this out. It's
Uh-huh.
like, what are we doing next week? Yeah.
So
That's the problem with retirement.
Sorry to my viewers. Yeah.
Tykan, it's always fun
it's-
to have you on, and I appreciate the fact that we did not have to make you feel sad.
I know. I was
Wow.
really apprehensive of how this podcast would go. It's either that you were going to completely agree with me or you're going to rip my opinion to shreds.
Well, I liked the fact, because last week we did the Shrouds, and we had Scott Eggleston here, and he was surrounded by two guys that liked the Shrouds, and he didn't like it. And I just had flashbacks to Alien Romulus, which not only were you dressed in Nostromo gear, you loved that movie, and both Gene and I had it on our list as like one of the worst of that particular year.
Well, don't worry. We have a new Alien Earth. It's great. I love it.
I have to sigh.
Tykan,
Sorry, I just have to say, it's like,
Oh boy.
that movie that we watched just ruined the whole Alien franchise for me. There is no way in the world I can watch another Alien movie. It's like, it's just put it to bed for a decade. We're done. It's just directors, producers, studios just not having any creativity at all. Let's just find a different idea. Come on.
For sure.
They're doubling down on it now. That must really disappoint you.
Yeah.
Am I going to watch any of it? Nope.
Right. Can't disappoint you if you don't watch it.
There you go.
But Tykan, tell me about, because you were telling me you've got some podcast you're going to be working on. When are we going to be seeing the first episodes of that?
So I'm really hoping it'll be out by October. We're going to be doing 6 episodes. It's called Alaskan Babble. And it's going to be a guest-led interview where it's myself and Chris. We're going to be talking to different residents of Alaska, giving them a voice, a platform to speak, and see what their perspective of life is and bring it out to the universe so they can see it. You know, there's many people outside and at the lower 48 and around the world that think we live in igloos. We do not live in igloos. They think we are on sled dogs. Gene has a dog, but it definitely won't be mushing a sled. So
No.
Yeah, no, it won't.
No.
So it'll be very interesting to see what our fellow civilians say about Alaska.
It's on YouTube?
It's going to be on YouTube and Spotify.
YouTube? Great.
And I'll be very happy to have you both as guests to see.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah,
Great.
Exactly. It'll be great. So we're just gonna have to schedule a time and figure out.
Well, there was that movie. There's a couple horror movies that were filmed in Alaska. Claws.
Yes.
And then, so maybe we could come on and talk about a filmed in Alaska horror movie.
Yeah, we got the Moose movie. We got
the
Moose the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
I can't believe you haven't reviewed Moose the movie yet.
You can only do so much.
It's so good. It's just amazing.
But anyway, Tykan, thanks for coming on,
Yeah,
and we
thanks for
look
coming.
forward to having you on again sometime. We're going to maybe do the children next week, but don't be surprised if it's something else. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks.